That's a new one to us, but I think it's worth learning, is it not? Worth learning, worth learning. Love the sinner, hate the sin is a phrase applied at times to LGBTQ plus people by religious institutions. And this was on the mind of the author of our next reading, Bob Janice Dillon. He entitled it, Jesus at the Parade. Later there were mutterings at the bar and throughout the law courts that Jesus only showed up at gay pride parades to love the jewel but not the quality, to love the potluck but not the food, to love the vessel but not the wine, to love the hot rod but not the driver, the baby but not the drool, to love the rock but not the cathedral, to love time but not history. To which I would say, if you saw him on the float, his arms cradling the jubilant and the grave, his head thrown back in laughter, harboring kisses without restraint, if you had heard the songs which rose among us to possess the city's tender hearts in common, if you had desired, as we had, ached in the body's soul places, you would not so easily doubt the divine, particular, gushing joy that told us that we were his own. Well, we all know that last weekend we celebrated our nation's 250th anniversary, and therefore the concept of freedom, which is the stamp on our birth certificate known as the Declaration of Independence, has been a hot topic. And because our progressive faith focuses on applying the matters of faith to our actual lived lives, I found myself pondering how this idea of freedom extends beyond the political sphere and into our personal lives, or more specifically, into our spiritual lives. And to that end, I have a story to share with you. It's from educator and social worker Pat Uribe-Leachy. She writes, "It was the spring of 1975. I sat in a rocking chair in a studio apartment in Manhattan and contemplated the wreckage of a marriage that had been my attempt at being straight. And for the first time, I said to myself, I'm a lesbian. On that cold but sunny day, it didn't occur to me that I could be closeted. I was an activist. The only way I knew how to live my life was to fight for what I believed justice demanded. But tolerance for me, let alone acceptance, was a far-fetched dream. Now, keep in mind, this is over 50 years ago. She goes on to say the UU Church, the first to ordain gay clergy, still was 5 years away from it. For 11 more years, it would be legal in my city to discriminate against people in employment and housing and public accommodations. I was fired from 3 jobs, evicted twice, asked to leave restaurants because we don't want your kind here. My best friend, the mother of my godchild, ended our relationship because she believed I was immoral. I couldn't work as a teacher or a social worker, so instead, I was an office temp for 11 years. These are the harsh realities for us at that time. But choosing to be an out lesbian was an act of choosing to be free, proudly being who we were. This freedom wasn't handed down to us. We were the ones who would change the world. as we risked our futures in creating new ways of being. And it was intoxicating. While those who came out later came into a very different world, the LGBTQIA plus alphabet soup still requires a choice of how one will be who they are. Facing this choice and choosing freedom is the root of pride. What a reminder of things that people have gone through. And you may agree, but be wondering, what's the spiritual relevance that you spoke of a moment ago? The spiritual relevance lies in paying attention, in being soulfully, grittily engaged with your life, which is the roadway of your spiritual journey. Spiritual relevance is contemplating who you were divinely created to be by your Creator. Spiritual relevance lies in finding the courage to step out of the shadows of silence into the light of truth, which sounds inspirational until you've been fired or evicted or beaten and tied to a fence and left there in a remote field to die. It is that very courage and the same gut-wrenching choices that thrusts a person, nonetheless, into the unwelcoming and therefore dangerous world that Jesus and Gandhi and Martin Luther King and countless others knew intimately about. Now again, you might say, yeah, but that was then, and this is now. Two things about that. First, we are foolish and one-dimensional to overlook the experiences of people who have gone before us, because their lives inform and inspire. We have a table that sits front and center in our holy space and carved into it. Take a look now, my friends. It says, "Do this in remembrance of me," because we know of the importance of remembering. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, these issues of freedom and pride and personal agency and pursuit of happiness are hardly irrelevant these days. And I'm not talking about the 67 repressive countries like the one we're currently at war with that criminalize homosexuality to the point of death as punishment. The war for living fully into who a person believes that they were created to be isn't even close to being over. But we tend to set aside these things as mostly resolved because it seems like it's easier now. I mean, yeah, Stonewall happened, but it was back then. Those folks were trailblazers for sure, but isn't the trail mostly blazed by now? It's very easy to fall into the "that was then, this is now" mentality. And speaking for myself, it would be easy to do. These days of overt marginalization due to my lesbianism, it doesn't land on me too much these days, thanks to who I keep company with. Yes, there was a time when my brother told me that sanctioning same-sex marriages is like saying it's okay to marry a German Shepherd. He wasn't kidding. And more recently, in May, several local clergy friends and myself attended the invitation, or answered the invitation from the Muslim community to assemble with them in solidarity at their sacred prayer service on Friday after there had been a shooting in San Diego at another mosque. Toward the end of his reflection, the imam was commenting on various sinful ways of being, and he included homosexuality. Until that moment, I had relished being in this interfaith setting. But when I heard those words, I felt like I had been sucker punched. And I'm guessing that my progressive fellow guest colleagues, all heterosexual, noted the comment probably quietly with some disagreement, but it didn't land with the potency on them that it did with me. For me, being in that setting of solidarity and support and God and love and good, I was wide open spiritually. And bam, here comes the hit. And in retrospect, I'm not surprised. But in that moment, I was caught off guard. Now, we heard a moment ago that facing the choice and choosing freedom is the root of pride. It's a choice to be faced because being on guard is a part of the equation. And this exists all the way from world religions to governments of all levels, right down to our family members. They all deliver messaging that produces the need to be on guard. I learned this my senior year at West Platte High. In school, I was chummy with everybody. Can you imagine it? The underclassmen, the upperclassmen, the new kids, the shy kids. All of this probably impacted my becoming that year's homecoming queen in our tiny little town of 1,500. But the second semester, things took a turn as suspicious whispers started to happen about me being gay. My tires were slashed in the high school parking lot. Questioning remarks were put with my initials in the school newspaper. Oh, how the tide can turn. The tide can turn in small-town USA, and the tide can turn in the entire USA. Not that it's ever been fabulous, but did you know that now 29 states have passed major restrictive policies for transgender citizens, and there are hundreds more in the pipeline in 43 states. LGBTQ rights are just as vulnerable as Roe versus Wade. And so, there's the issue of being on guard at all levels. And let's take a moment to talk about what exactly are we on guard about. Well, to start with, there's the intrinsic element of our safety, our survival. And I say that literally, not metaphorically, and not dramatically. In addition to our physical selves, there's being on guard to protect our emotional selves, such as my experience in the mosque and navigating my conservative family. So, okay, physical and emotional. But what about the protection of our spiritual selves? That's where things become interesting, because the turning changes directions. To guard our physical and emotional selves, we tend to turn in to protect ourselves. But our spiritual domain is different, because that's love central, and there are departments there, such as forgiveness and patience, and where our gears typically to protect turn us in. If we're protecting our spiritual domain, we're turning outward. This reminds me of a well-known passage in 1 Corinthians describing love. Love is patient and kind. It doesn't dishonor other people, even when they might be dishonoring you. Doesn't become easily angered, and it doesn't keep score. Pretty outward turning, isn't it? And speaking of guarding and protecting, the verse goes on to say, love always protects. The word is in the script. And when I look within myself and I'm trying to apply this to my lived life, to say the experience I had at the mosque, I know that I am being called to protect my courage. Courage for what? Courage to avoid keeping score after I've been hurt. There is a knowing that pulls on me beyond my disappointment that says, Lori, do not succumb to the temptation to distance yourself and your congregation from them. And trust me, it was there for a little bit. My friends, you've heard some of my stories today, but each of us have had similar circumstances, dynamics, relationships that marginalize us. This pride message to face choices for truth and love goes far beyond sexuality and gender. Everyone here has experienced being betrayed and being marginalized in some way. So what do we end up guarding? What is precious enough to protect? When you think of protecting yourself, do you think in terms of protecting your higher self, where love lives? We're called, to protect that too. In fact, we're called to primarily protect that. And the challenge of faith is blending our voices for justice and truth and what love is. And sometimes that's kind of challenging, but we're called to it. And in our polarizing, marginalizing world, you don't see much of that blending, do you? It's found in a letter I received yesterday. I heard some of my Disciples of Christ friends talking about it. It was from our fearless leader, the Reverend Dr. William Crowder. He wrote this for Pride Month to his colleagues. I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I am going to read Elizabeth a little bit. Elizabeth, are you listening? Because it's worth hearing. Beloved colleagues, as Pride Month is observed across our nation, many people of faith find themselves reflecting on what it means to be an ally or friend to our LGBTQ plus siblings. It doesn't require abandoning convictions, but it does ensure people knowing they are seen and heard and valued and loved. Pride Month reminds me that many persons are rejected, isolated, and spiritually harmed. Spiritually harmed. And we, as followers of Jesus, are called to be healers of that harm. And the church is at its best when it creates room for conversation and understanding and genuine connection. We all might not arrive at the same conclusions, but we must choose kindness and respect and love. And then I love this part. This is verbatim. I want to be clear. This regional minister will be an ally, a friend, a pastor, not only in word, but in deed. The commitment extends beyond statements and slogans. It means showing up. It's not merely what we say, it's how we accompany people on their journey. And then he ends by saying, being an ally and a friend is not accomplished by renaming the month of June Nuclear Family Month in an attempt to counter pride, nor is it achieved by perpetuating harmful theology used to wound and exclude. We're called to something greater than that. And so he signs off, may this Pride season be an opportunity to deepen our listening, our learning, and our love. Amen. Ashe. Well, in this Pride season, I can tell you that I am deeply proud to be a part of a denomination whose leader writes these words, and I hope that you are too. There was a second letter written. This one wasn't written to colleagues, but by colleagues, specifically by various denominational heads in our country. Spearheaded by the UU president, Reverend Dr. Sophia Benacourt, it was directed to the American public, and specifically political leaders and moral leaders. I'll include the entire letter, it's not that long, in our newsletter, but the crux of it is captured in these two sentences. We raise our voices in solidarity to unequivocally proclaim the holiness of transgender, non-binary, and intersex people, specifically naming those groups because they're in the hottest seat right now. Our faiths, our theologies call on us to say with one voice to transgender people among us, you are holy. You are sacred. We love you. We support you. And here comes that word again, we will protect you. There are many facets to protecting love, is there not? I want to take just a moment to name the denominations whose leaders put their name on this statement because it says something and I want you to know. There were 10 besides the UUs. 3 branches of Judaism, conservative, reformed, and reconstructing. Friends, aka Quakers. The Episcopal Church. NCC, Metropolitan Community Church. They primarily serve the LGBTQ community. The Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. And that leaves 3 more. It warms my heart immeasurably to report to you that our founding traditions, United Church of Christ, Presbyterian USA, and Disciples of Christ also sign this letter. Since our inception, 34 years ago, we have been blessed to be in affiliated covenant with these 3 denominations. After a discernment process, we embraced an affiliation transition, and at this time, we're going to stop, just pause for a moment and mark this transition with representatives that we have from 2 of those denominations, the Presbyterians and the Disciples. So at this time, I would welcome up to the front Reverend Kathy Mitchell from Presbyterian USA and Reverend Dr. Alex Ruth from the Disciples of Christ. Typically, we share our voices individually after a reflection. Today, we're going to be sharing our voices collectively as part of a litany celebrating our history, which has led us to this point in time. This is an audience participation event, so please listen and be engaged, and when it comes time for the congregation to respond, you'll see the words on the screen. Beloved community, today we mark a changing covenant. For the whole life of New Covenant community, this congregation has lived in an ecumenical witness, shaped by more than one tradition and sustained by the grace of God. Today we give thanks for what has been, we bless what is changing, and we open ourselves to what God is still bringing to life.
New Covenant community, we give thanks for the years you have walked in covenant with the Presbyterian Church USA. We give thanks for the shared ministry, faithful witness, holy questions, and the work of love and justice. As this formal relationship changes, we release you with gratitude and with prayer. We do not release you from the love of God, from the calling of Christ, or from the wider body of faith. We bless you for this new season.
Now for you, we receive this blessing with gratitude. We give thanks for the Presbyterian Church USA, for the relationships that have shaped us, and for the ministry we have shared. Though our formal covenant changes, we remain grateful for the gifts of the journey.
New Covenant community, on behalf of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, I give thanks for your life and witness. We affirm you as continued partners in ministry, companions in covenant, and siblings in the work of healing, welcome, justice, and hope. In the disciples' tradition, we gather at Christ's table. We seek unity without requiring uniformity, and trust that God is still speaking to the gathered community. Will you continue to walk in faith, love your neighbors, welcome the stranger, and seek God's justice in this new season?
With God's help, we will.
Will you walk with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in mutual care, shared ministry, and covenantal partnership?
With God's help, we will. As we mark this change, we also give thanks for the Unitarian Universalist tradition and for the shared commitments to love, conscience, justice, and human dignity that will help shape our common life. We are not erasing our past, we are blessing it. We are not stepping away from covenant, we are stepping into covenant in a new form. God of journey, guide us. Christ of the table, welcome us. Spirit of courage, send us. May our changing relationships deepen our faith, widen our love, and strengthen our witness.
Go with our gratitude.
Go with our partnership.
Go with God's courage. We go in hope, we go in love, we go as a new covenant community. Thanks be to God. Amen. It's time for our second hymn now. It's a UU favorite. I don't know if we've sung it before. We Are a Gentle, Angry. We have sung it before. We know this song. Please stand. You'll find the words as you are willing and able. You'll find the words on the screen.
And we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. are singing.